Welcome to Whispers Beyond the Veil. I'm Brooke Ashley, and tonight's story is The Road Through Elk Pass. Remember, the veil is thinner than you think. The road through Elk Pass never liked my car. Every time I took it, usually after a late event near Mount Rainier, the engine ran a note lower. Like the mountain pressed a thumb to the hood and told it, shh. It was just after midnight. Cold, dry, no snow yet. The kind of clear night where the stars look sharpened. You know that feeling, when the forest leans in and the asphalt feels narrower than it is? That was the night I told myself to call someone, just to have another human voice in my pocket. I didn't. I decided to be brave and talk to the road instead. I was coming back from a small private reading near Ashford. Beautiful old house, heavy curtains, the lingering smell of wood polish, a grandmother's ring warm in the client's hand. It had gone well. Clear names, dates, that kind of evidence that makes a skeptic blink twice and put a hand to their throat. But when I packed up my bag, I made a mistake I still feel under my skin. On the way out, the homeowner pressed an oak keepsake box into my hands. A little thing, dark, heavy, with a circle of thorns carved on the lid. This sat under my mother's bed for 50 years, she said. And it knocks at night. She smiled like people do when they're only half joking. If anyone should have it, it's you. I laughed. I should have said no. I put it in the passenger seat, the lid towards me, and I drove into Elk Pass. You know that tight black ribbon of road? No lights, just reflectors. The trees were all tall enough to feel like theater curtains half drawn. I was 5, maybe 6 miles from the turnoff when the engine coughed. Not a stall, not a misfire, a cough, like there was saliva in its throat. I turned the wipers on for no reason, habit I guess, and they scraped once dry. I turned the radio to the local weather. Static. I tried my playlist. Nothing. Even my phone felt heavier in my hand. I put it face down on the console and kept going. Out of the corner of my eye, the oak box seemed closer than I had left it. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't braked hard. It just nudged itself an inch towards me. I told myself it was the grade of the road, a gentle slope, gravity flirting. I kept my hand on the steering wheel and my eyes on the center line. I don't scare easily on roads. I grew up in the dark. I know the shapes deer make when they decide the pavement is friendlier than ferns. So when I saw a shape ahead, tall, thin, pale, I slowed carefully. The high beams washed the trees, made their black needles shine. The shape didn't move. At first I thought it was a signpost somebody had twisted sideways in a storm. It was standing dead center on the broken yellow line. When I was 50 yards out, I saw knees, narrow, hinged wrong. When I was 30 yards out, I saw an arm hanging too low, like it hadn't decided what length to be. At 20 yards, I saw its face, and I say face, just so you know where to imagine it. What I really saw was the idea of a face, the kind you draw when you're a child. A circle, 2 eyes, a mouth. No detail, just the suggestion of looking. I said out loud the way you say to a stray animal, I'm not stopping. I kept rolling 5 miles an hour, 10. My hands were very soft on the wheel. I had this thought, absurd, precise. Don't blink first. The figure leaned, the way people lean when they look into a car, and my headlights passed through it. Not around it. Through. I should have hit the gas, right? Fight or flight. But I did the third thing people don't brag about because it sounds small. I kept moving at the same slow, careful pace, like I could thread a needle through the night and not snag. As I drew even with it, I smelled something sweet. Not perfume, not rot. The smell of flowers, kept in a fridge for too long. And then the oak box tapped its own lid. I didn't look at it. I didn't look at the thing in the road. I looked at the center line and I said very softly, no. The engine breathed in like a person who's been told to calm down, and I eased past the figure. The rearview mirror stayed black. Nothing. No reflection. No trailing shape. Just the little red dots of my taillights carving the dark. For a single beautiful minute, I believed I'd left it behind. I pulled over after the next curve to breathe. The good kind of breath that shakes a little as it leaves. The shoulder was just wide enough for my car. Drop off on the right onto underbrush, slope up on the left into trees. I cracked the window and listened for the forest breath, like a sleeping animal, rib cage slow and big. I told myself to be practical. Lock the doors. Hazards on. 5 minutes, then drive. My phone screen glowed when I lifted it. No bars. Fine. 5 minutes, then drive. I turned my face to the window. The glass was absolutely clean. I could see my reflection, wide-eyed, candlelit by the dash. The window fogged a little with my breath and drew a heart shape that I did not draw. I watched it change into a circle of thorns. I closed my eyes and practiced being stubborn. I'm good at that. It's the one human talent the dead respect. I told myself nothing gets in unless you open the door. 3 more knocks came from the box. I put my hand on the lid. It felt warm. Warmer than my fingers. I said aloud quietly, "Not tonight." The lid pulsed once, like a throat swallowing. The knock stopped. That should have been the end of it, right? Closed box with a boundary, drive home, salt the threshold, return the gift in the morning with a thank you and a smile that says, "We both know what we did." But something shifted outside. The trees, maybe? Or the dark? And the passenger window caught a shape at the edge of the glass, not facing me. Listening. I didn't turn my head. I used the mirror. I lifted it, angled it, and let the mirror look for me. There it was at my back right quarter, standing not on the shoulder, but a little in it, like the ground had risen up to cup its feet. Tall, jointed, patient. If it had a face, it was still thinking about it. You learn doing what I do that there are 2 kinds of knocks. The ones that ask in and the ones that call out. The first type comes polite. The second type, it comes from under you. It wants to be your floor. When the passenger door clicked, I froze. Not opened. Clicked. The tiny, guilty noise a lock makes when it changes its mind. I did not touch the handle. I didn't breathe. In the rear view, the shape leaned a fraction, the way people lean in to listen for breathing. I said, "I'm not for you." Not out loud, in my head, directed at it like a thought you aim through bone. The box answered me with a single, very small, very final knock, like a judge tapping a gavel. The hazard lights reflected red on a line of eyes in the brush. Not deer, too low, too many. Unblinking. The shape by the quarter panel tilted its almost face towards them, then towards me, like it was choosing a language. And then It spoke. I do not have a recording. I don't have proof. I have a mouth that remembers the exact place it went dry. What I heard was my voice, my actual voice, coming from a point outside of the car over my right shoulder, very close to the glass, trying out my name like a new tooth. It said softly, "Brooke." That's when I realized I didn't want it in. It wanted to wear. It wanted to see what my face looked like from the other side of my skin. When you work in grief and ghosts, you learn about vows. Not the big ceremonial ones, the quiet ones, the private contract you make with yourself when no one's watching. I had a choice: open my mouth and answer, or lock the house of my body and be impolite to whatever borrowed my voice. I turned the key. The engine did nothing. I turned it again. Nothing. Third try, it caught. Like the car had remembered it was a car and felt embarrassed. The passenger door clicked, and a second time. Not locking, not unlocking, just practicing the motion. I put the car in drive and took my foot off the brake, very slowly. The hazards continued, red on the eyes, red on the carved circle on the box lid, red on my hands. The shape leaned with me like it was tethered to my speed. And then, because fear is a dumb, brave animal, I did something I didn't plan, didn't think about, and only understood after. I put my left palm flat on the box's lid and said in my head, in my mother's voice, and my grandmother's, "Mine." It hummed, a deep tooth buzz sound that you feel more than you hear, and the shape by the quarter panel flinched. Not much, a quarter-inch backward, like someone tugged a thread that ran through it. I gripped the wheel, 10 miles an hour, 15, 20. I didn't look at it. I counted. Sometimes counting is a spell if you do it without hurry. At 30, the engine sighed into a normal note, and the road felt less like a throat and more like a road again. I looked once in the mirror at the exact wrong moment, and I saw it. Keep pace without moving. Do you understand? The forest slid. The car moved. It did not. And yet, there it was next to me, at my shoulder, always at my shoulder, always listening, like a neighbor you didn't mean to live beside. I thought, if I make it to the Elk Pass overlook, I'll stop under the big sign, the one with the map. It's open sky there, less cover. Maybe that would matter. I whispered because I couldn't help it. Don't follow me. The glass fogged in a perfect circle where my breath touched it, and thorns bloomed there, again, crisp and clear. I drove. I let the car climb. The overlook was empty. I parked, nose out, lifted the e-brake, old habit, and turned off the engine. Silence hit me like a pressure change. I opened the door before I could change my mind and stood up into the cold, honest air. Stars. I let them pierce me. Felt almost normal. I left the passenger door closed on the box. I didn't trust what the night might do if I gave it both doors. I leaned on the hood and listened for garbage. Cans rattling, a long-haul truck on the far highway, a coyote telling a friend a joke. Nothing. Just the wind pulling a ribbon sound out of the tree line like it does when it has an audience. I said out loud to whoever had followed me here, "I know you heard my name. You don't get to keep it." The words blew back into my face and tasted like metal. Something moved by the guardrail, small, not tall, like a sound, like little hands tapping metal in a game. 3 taps. I didn't go closer. I stayed by the hood, and I put my hand on the cool steel and knocked back. Not 3, 2. You don't answer a pattern, you change it. There was a pause, the kind you can wear like a coat if you keep your nerve. Then the taps came again, this time 2. The answer I didn't want. I said in my head, not mine. And in my chest, mine. And in my bones, nothing at all. The box in the car hummed, just once. A yes that felt heavier than wood. The Overlook had done one of those information boards, a plastic map behind cloudly plexiglass. Names of peaks and numbers about elevations, a moth lay dead in the corner, like someone had pinned it there with their breath. In the reflection of that cloudy plexiglass, I saw my car and my shape beside it. And then to the right of me, I saw another tall, thin thing join my reflection, even though there was nothing next to me in the air. I didn't turn. I watched the reflection only. The tall thing tilted its head towards mine. It opened its mouth. No teeth. A circle. And from the circle, I heard the sound of me on the day I first did this work in public. A young, shaky version of me saying, "Please be gentle." It had been there a long time, collecting versions. It wasn't just my voice it wanted me, all the eras of me, layered and readable. I said very quietly, "You're not invited." And because I am who I am, I added, "But I see you." Sometimes that is the rudest sentence in the world to the thing that wants to be you. The reflection blinked. The tall, thin thing did not. The wind shifted. The plastic map creaked the way old church pews creak when everybody stands. I backed to the driver's door without turning my face and opened it and slid in. I picked up the oak box with both hands and put it under my left thigh like a ridiculous talesman. I started the car. The engine caught on the first try and sounded like it always does, fussy, loyal, and alive. I turned the wheel and pulled out and did not gun it. I did not feed the fear. I did not bless or curse or challenge. I left. The last mile down out of Elk Pass always feels like the road woke from a bad dream and remembered its job. You can see the first porch lights of people who believe the dark ends where their property line begins. The passenger door clicked, locked. I hadn't asked it to. The car decided for me. I looked in the mirror. The tall thing was gone. Near the ditch, though, back where the shoulder had narrowed into the brush, I saw little shapes, low to the ground. Several, all looking towards me with steady animal patience. I don't know if those were mine to worry about. The mountain is a hotel with too many rooms. When I hit service, my phone sprang up bars like a dog walking to its name. I called a friend. I didn't say what I wanted to say. I said, "Talk to me while I drive." She did. She told me mundane human things. The price of eggs, a dog that won't stop stealing the socks. The world slid back into place like a drawer, catching on the last inch and then closing. When I pulled into my driveway, I told her goodnight. I locked the car. I carried the oak box inside. I set it on the kitchen table and looked at the circle of thorns on the lid. I didn't open it. I put a small dish of salt on top because some old habits aren't superstition, they're memory. As I turned to go upstairs, the box gave a single polite knock from under the salt like a neighbor who knows the hour. I said, "Not tonight." It didn't answer. I slept with the bedroom door open, not for the thing in the woods, but for me, in case a part of me came home later than the rest. In the morning, I drove back to Ashford and returned the box with a thank you and a lie. I said, "It didn't suit me." The homeowner smiled like she knew better. She put her hands on with relief, like a dancer finding an old step again. I drove away lighter. I've taken Elk Pass twice since then, both times in the daylight, both times with music too loud for the trees to hear my thoughts. That first night, though, the one I'm telling you about, every time the tire hits a seam in the road, the car made a tiny tap that I could almost take for knocks. I didn't. I let the sound be the road. One more thing. On the inside of my passenger window, there's a faint, almost invisible arc of tiny scratches that won't polish out. If you catch them in the right light, they curve into a thorny circle that doesn't quite close. Sometimes I press my fingertips to that open gap, and yes, I think about closing it. So far, I haven't. Some doors should stay a breath apart from shut. If you drive Elk Pass at night and a polite voice outside your window says your name back to you with your exact weight of breath, be rude. Don't answer. Don't shape your mouth to fit it. And if you must knock, don't knock 3.